All right. So, Apprenticeship Patterns, Chapter 3, Walking the Long Road. All right. So basically, in the introduction, the writers were kind of mentioning some kind of a story about Dave having in his cubicle certifications and stuff. But when he started to go to meetups and see other more advanced or experienced developers, he kind of figured that he didn't even scratch the surface yet. So he was kind of discouraged by how little he understood and knew. But in the same time, he got inspired by the power of those like quote unquote hackers, by their abilities and how fast and how deep their knowledge is. And so basically that motivated him to get into like have to have side projects and read anything he can kind of find, and one by one he started kind of to like all his certifications or degrees or whatever, like he started to pile up, and he didn't really care for much for them. So what they mentioned that let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, so over the following months, his pile of training certificates slowly disappeared beneath a larger pile of scratch papers and printouts of books, book drafts, and tutorials. So yeah. Then the long road. To become truly good at programming is life's work and ongoing enterprise of learning and practicing. So basically, the context is we live in a culture that values overnight celebrity, and that wasn't the case back in the old days of computer science. So
sorry to interrupt real quick. I
Sure.
just wanted to ask the group. I mean, I have my own kind of feelings on certificates, but I wanted to get a feeling from folks what their thoughts on certificates were, because that beginning part kind of, like you said, Kareem, it kind of like the guy started out like with certifications and he was kind of centered around that, and then he moves into more of an active role. But just as far as certifications go, what do folks think of those?
I think in some industries they are really important, but I think as a coder or a developer, it doesn't really matter. Maybe in the .NET kind of world, because they have all sort of certifications in the Microsoft world. But I think maybe as a Python developer or as a Ruby developer, that doesn't really matter. But also, I think if you are a computer technician or something, there is certifications to kind of prove that you know what you are doing. Mm-hmm. But I think end of the day, it doesn't matter. But some organizations or companies, they kind of care for. But for me, if I'm hiring someone, I wouldn't really care for that. But that's not what happens in the real world. So yeah. Any other thoughts, guys?
I mean, I don't think they make much sense for developers.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I think that the whole point of a certification is to prove that you know something, and that you can prove that in better ways than getting a certificate.
Right.
Yeah. And now, up to my knowledge, most of certifications you can kind of hack them. They have testing or cheat sheets, and you kind of memorize 200 questions, and you are sure that the exam going to come from those 200, and that's it. You got your certification. You really have the certificate, but you don't have the knowledge that will help you to do your job, kind of thing. So yeah, so it's pretty useless. But unfortunately, that some companies they still care for. So I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I kind of came in. I kind of came in the long part there, but you're saying you don't understand the.
We were just talking
Yeah.
about certifications
Yeah, and you were
and their
saying, but like,
value.
but Kareem, you were saying you don't understand how some companies like how the author didn't value the certifications, but some companies
No,
still
no, no.
do.
I'm asking how is that some companies, I'm not sure if the grammar is right, but how are anyways, but
No, you're fine.
how is that some companies still care for certifications? Like, and the argument here, does those certifications prove anything, or they are just a piece of paper, or it is just a piece of paper? So yeah, what do you think?
I think as you become more proficient. I mean, I think what I took away from kind of the chapter was with the long road. I mean, it's software craftsmanship is I mean, the goal of it's not just being a program. You want to craft, you want to pursue your craft, which is not art. He goes into that, but through your journey to pursue your craft to write good software, it's more about the knowledge than the certifications. And from my experience in small business, certifications don't mean anything. The employers that I deal with and the contracts I've worked with are all about, let me see your portfolio. Let me see your portfolio. Let me see the work you've done. Not what I mean. Because I've taken a lot of Coursera courses. I've taken this certification or that certification. Since I'm not really rich yet, I haven't bought the big expensive ones, but every single person I've let off on my CV, on my resume with these are how I'm certified, this is how well I'm educated, and every single person has just thrown that away and said, show me your work, show me your work.
Yeah.
And I think kind of the author was saying, these certifications, they're great for like, showing yourself, yes, I know something, I passed this test, I know something, but really, as you become deeper and as you become more proficient, really the things that will boost your confidence the most is your accomplishments and the code that you've put out. That's what I interpreted.
Yeah, and the fact is, in our industry as developers, they don't even now, like most of the companies, they don't even care about if you have a CS degree or not.
Mm-mm.
So I think for us, the certification or certifications doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, I think certifications are okay. As I've gotten more experience, and I've even taken all my certifications off of my LinkedIn. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
At first, it kind of gave me the confidence boost to get myself in the door, but now I'm starting to get enough experience that I can say, this is what I can do, this is what I have done. I guess more saying this is what I have done instead of this is what this test proved that I can do something.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the sad aspects of the certifications that they became some kind of a business.
Yeah.
You need to pay $300 or $200 to get into the exam, and
Yeah.
some of them are much more expensive than that. But I mean, I think it's a business now more than anything else.
I think that with some of the certifications, it shows that you're dedicated to actually invest your time and money into getting the certificate more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the case. All right. So the long road. So basically, the context is the culture we live in. It values overnight celebrity, and the problem is we have lots of temptations to give up programming. Right. Okay. Yeah, because of, for example, you have an opportunity to get to get better pay or to get promoted, right? And in the back of our mind that we think that's okay. I made it. If I got this job or if I got this promotion, then yeah, I'm in the right kind of path. But that's not the case in this kind of pattern, the long road. So basically, the solution is keep your focus on the long term. What is your goals in the long term, and value learning and long-term growth opportunities, and instead of money, more money instead of promotion. That's what you should value if you wanna walk the long road. Uh, Action. So just to say, some of the actions in this chapter, I found them to be annoying or stupid. just to say, I don't know. I didn't like most of the actions. I thought they might be time consuming and useless. But I don't know. I'll just say it, and we can have a discussion about it.
Did you do any of the actions?
I did not do any of the actions, but I thought of them. But as I said, I thought they are like it's just waste of time. I don't know. Like close your eyes and imagine strangest possible role you could be playing in years from now, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. I don't know, like as of now, how this action would help me to become a better developer, or improve my craft. But I might be wrong. So that's my opinion on that, the actions or this action. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I only did one of the actions. I did the one where you lifted. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I kind of went through the mental exercise of some of them. Some of them I kind of didn't think they were appropriate for me right now. They didn't apply to me right now at the stage of my development right now.
Yeah.
The one I did was the one where you listed the 15 things that motivate you, and then you paused for a while and you listed 5 others. And that actually, by doing that, I did take something away from it. I was kind of grumpy about doing it at first. I'm like, this is crap, but I liked it. It wound up being beneficial.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Okay.
What about you guys?
So yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think with this one, I mean, there's some limited benefit to it, but there's really 2 things that I could see getting from it. One is just to kind of make yourself think long term. It's not necessarily easy to come up with the strangest possible role you could be playing in years from now, so maybe you have to go through a few different ideas and kind of think about it. And the other one is that it could potentially get you like something that's kind of a personalized niche in the future, that like you're not going for super rock star coder, you're going for, I don't know, the guy who plays with the keyboard that's on a guitar live in performances, or whatever it happens to be, that you can kind of come up with a creative, personalized future that you could aim towards. But, I mean, that said, there's probably limited benefit on this one.
Yeah.
I think from last week, one of the coolest things is when we talked about concrete skills, and how a lot of them actually weren't, to take people we admired and think of the concrete skills they have, and a lot of them, we admired them not because of their coding ability. I think Sandy Metz was one of them, and Saran. And it's because they were just really prolific communicators, educators, and stuff. And I actually just came from the Conan show. Sorry, I'm on vacation mode. And I was thinking, like, man, coders, like, so who's coding his website? And like, what type of talent do they need to get something like this running? And it's amazing how diverse that spectrum is. And like, to me, I'm starting to realize that I do like coding. But it's just nice to know that there's more flavors in the world, And just kind of hearing this action is probably just a way to kind of like just remind ourselves that it's not just about objects and dependency injection and all that stuff, There's other things happening. But yeah, so that's just what I thought of it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that chapter, or should I move on? Or I'll take it as a move on. Okay. All right. So craft over art. Um, so I would describe programming as a craft, which is kind of an art, but not a fine art. So basically, okay, and I didn't put the rest of it, but basically, craft means making useful objects with perhaps do, some nice touches. Fine art means making things purely for their beauty. So basically, as a developer, we should care about the craft and think of what we do as a craft more like not as an art. Even though sometimes developing or being a developer has uh, some creativity into it, like in problem solving and stuff. Okay, so the context is you are being paid to build something that will solve a problem for a customer. Uh, that's the context. But the problem is there is an opportunity to create something beautiful, or there is something out there is a practical solution. So although there is a proven solution available, you are tempted to kind of create the beautiful thing for your own benefit. So that's the problem. So the solution is focus on delivering value to your customer over advancing your own self-interests. Working on real problems for real people is what honed the craft, not just doing it for self-satisfaction. That's one of the quotes in this chapter, and I find it really I find it real. And one of the problems for us, or at least for me as a rookie, that sometimes I don't get to work on real problems. Like specifically when I was kind of learning, I want to kind of improve my coding skills, but there's no real problems to work on. So you build a blog, then you build this, you build that, but I don't think there are real problems for real people, and yeah, that sucks. And I think we kind of need to wait for to. I needed to wait for to get my first job to be able to do those things, fix problems for real people. Um, Anyways, so the action is in the next 24 hours, find an opportunity to do something useful rather than beautiful. That's basically the action. Yeah. So there is some explanation goes into it, but yeah, if you read the chapter, then you know what's the rest. So, do you guys do you think there's something needs to be discussed? Was something kind of interesting or?
I was a little surprised to see him cover craft versus art, because it seems to me like the conversation, at least in the coding community, a lot of times is craftsmanship versus engineering. And I know I've seen that conversation happen. So I was a little surprised that it didn't go in that direction, though he may talk about it later in the book.
Maybe, but I think in the first chapter or in the introduction of the book, he mentioned that this is not about software engineering, and the book is not going to cover this part of the I don't know, of the job. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but that's what I kind of understood. I don't really remember, but yeah, maybe
Yeah,
he didn't.
that sounds familiar. I vaguely remember something like that from the first chapter as well, now that you mention it.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe for the writer, it's like craft and engineering is kind of the same thing. I don't know, but I thought I don't know. I thought this is really kind of it's a good pattern. Like to kind of look into and kind of remember when you do stuff. Or sometimes you don't need to create beautiful things, you need to create useful things. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So
I thought of something when I was reading this that doesn't. It's not a literal translation of this, but
yeah.
it's something similar that I've had trouble with. So, like, you learn about maybe a design pattern or a specific function that does something really cool, and you get your next problem, and you're like, oh, well, this sounds like it would apply to this. And so you just set out from the very beginning trying to make this perfect solution using this thing that you had um, decided ahead of time was going to be the perfect solution, and it doesn't always end well, at least in my experience. So, I mean, I kind of thought that like when you start out, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be like this textbook opportunity for me to make something that's the perfect solution. But what he says is that you're really there to solve the problem and not to um,
Yeah.
try out new stuff that you think is cool.
I think Sandy mentioned this in her book that like rookies like myself when they learn a new pattern or something that's coding pattern, they tend to use it for kind of everything. And maybe I can because what you mentioned now it's kind of resonated to me. That's the case. I don't know. Maybe mostly I'm wrong, but yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've definitely had that experience.
yeah,
I'm not sure what something beautiful would look like that isn't well crafted. Like I'm not sure like as far as code goes, like well crafted code is as far as I'm concerned the best looking code. Like I'm not sure what it would entail for me to do something artistic for the sake I mean I guess I could think of I guess if you have some pattern and you just insist on cramming it into a situation that you don't need it.
yeah, and also you're totally right, but I'm kind of maybe a bit confused because if okay, let's say you are working on a web app, does that mean that you don't like spend much time on the UI or something, or that's kind of separate thing?
Right. Right. I
I'm
mean,
not sure.
you want to spend time on the UI because that's going to be that's really the first thing the user deals with.
Yeah, but maybe just do something functional for now. Don't try to invent the wheel. Maybe use I don't know, Twitter Bootstrap or use Foundation or something, and don't kind of let's say I'm gonna create my own responsive CSS framework from scratch, and this is gonna be a great experience for me. But for the same time, you are wasting your client's time. I don't know if that kind of resonates to this craft over art. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it takes the focus that it's really about the customer and not about your own needs. Really, I mean, it's
Right.
like don't be selfish asshole and like waste their money and
Yeah,
take 10 years to do something that would take a month. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem I have with my code is I tend to not ship on time because it's not up to the standard of I know it can be a lot better than it is. The client might like it just fine, but it's like I think it looks like crap. I know I could do so much better if I just educated myself this much more. So waste time to perfect is the enemy of good. So.
I think especially with me learning, like it's really easy to treat everything as a learning opportunity when it's not. I shouldn't be learning on their expense.
Yeah.
So like for example, one of my the
Go
first
ahead.
thing was a WordPress website. I really wanted, so it's pre-existing. It's WordPress, and I feel like a dick working on WordPress. And I talked to one of my buddies, and he's like, "Dude, don't tell anybody you're working on WordPress. You want to be a Rails developer, because then everyone's gonna think you're a douchebag." So I was like, "Okay, fine." Then I thought of this idea. Well, what if I ported WordPress databases and then, transferred it into a Rails app, and then I was working, I was sick. There's people who've done it. They've taken WordPress apps and turned them into Rails apps. But then it would be like a waste of their time, I wouldn't be serving them. I'd be serving myself. And so I felt like, okay, well, maybe I should just make these templates and shut up, you know.
Clayton, you wanted to say something?
Well, one of the things he talked about in the first part of the book was how when you're at the apprenticeship level, it's okay to be a little more selfish as far as like seeing your work as also an opportunity to learn more and less, and because you have less responsibility, you're able to focus some of that energy into learning new tools and new languages and things like that. And
yes, but maybe it's not the context of you are getting paid to get the job done, right? Maybe.
Right. It's about finding the right balance there.
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. All right. I think maybe like I thought of something now. Maybe when they mentioned that although there is a proven solution available, it's kind of like with Rails if you have device as an authentication like solution available, why create your own solution from scratch and waste maybe a month making this thing perfect while you can hook device up in a day or two.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm going through the Hartle, Michael Hartle Rails tutorial workbook. I'm going through that. I kind of agree with him that, I mean, specific kind of a tangent, but with the Devise and users thing, I mean, at this stage of my career, since I could have this project out the door for Devise, but since I'm not with Devise, but since I'm not getting paid for it, it's only for my own portfolio. I'm going to spend extra time learning the users the hard way so that I can do that quicker in the future. And also, when Devise breaks or whatever, I want to be able to get into the guts,
Yeah. If you're not paying me to build your project, I'm not going to use Devise because I like rolling my own user system. And I know that makes some of the people around here pull their hair out. But I like rolling my own system, and if you're not paying me and time's not of the essence, I'm gonna roll one my own.
I mean, one of the advantages of Rails is that it does have a lot of plugins. It's got a huge plugin library or whatever, package library. I mean, it's great, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to work with Rails, why not? If you have the time and the luxury to do it, why not learn Rails? Why not work with Rails? Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Clayton.
All right. So sustainable motivation. Programming itself, if the programmer is given the chance to do it his way, is the biggest motivation in programming. So basically, this chapter is about if you work in an environment that doesn't motivate you to keep walking on the long road, or so that chapter kind of discusses this. So basically, the context is you will often find yourself working in a messy realities of Okay, you know what I mean. I can't pronounce it. Something ambiguous.
Ambiguously. Yeah.
Yeah. Specified projects for customers with shifting and conflicting demands, and basically that's. As far as I know, that's most of the projects out there.
Definitely the project I work on.
Yeah. So,
could have just said project, and it would have been enough.
Yeah.
Understood.
So that's the context, and the problem is real-world projects are rigorous, tedious, exhausting, frustrating, and frequently overly chaotic and constraining. And yeah, so basically, you guys get what I think writer means, and the solution is ensure that your motivation for craftsmanship will adapt and survive through the trails and tribulations. I'm learning English here now.
You're doing great.
Yeah. That's a very biblical term.
Yeah. To survive through the trails and tribulations of the long road, that's the solution. And I find it sometimes it's really hard to kind of stay motivated and to kind of hold it together if you are working in an environment that doesn't kind of uh, motivate you, or like, for example, your teammates are kind of doing this job to get paid and go home, and whenever you are trying to discuss something, if you feel it's best practice or whatever, it's kind of like they put you down or whatever. So it's kind of hard. Although the solution makes sense, but I think it's still hard. It depends on the company, the team, the environment, everything. But all right. So I think the action: write down 15 things that motivates you. Wait a little, then write down another 5. And they were kind of mentioning that like, see how many of those motivations are kind of external or depend on others. Like, one of the motivations, maybe I need my boss to be impressed or whatever, and how many of those are kind of, I need to learn better, I need to improve and grow as a developer. So you need to kind of compare and see things. And I'm not sure what's the rest of the action, the description of the action, but I think you guys know. Yeah. So, yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on this
Yeah, yeah.
pattern? Yeah.
This pattern resonated with me because I'm maybe a little bit older than most of the people here. I'm 42, and I'm just now getting into my career as a coder. I've worked in tech on and off, and entrepreneurship on and off, but at 42, I finally decided what I want to be when I grow up, right? So
Yeah.
now that I have decided this and I am dedicating, I've gone through a boot camp. I mean, I'm putting all my time, and right now I'm still unemployed, and I'm not even accepting contracts right now. So I have the freedom to put my time into crafting, my career into what I want it to be. So this one resonated for me because, I mean, I am in this for the long haul. This is the career I have picked, and I'm going to stick with this, which is rare for me. So I had to think about what's going to motivate me for the long haul to keep doing this, and also, they were talking about the problems and the rigorous problems and the boss's expectations may be different than yours. So since I am a boot camp graduate and since I am living in a city where there is a certain amount of interest there's a large need for developers in Miami right now, and the tech scene in Miami maybe doesn't have the best tech guys, but so I don't know, man. It really resonated with me, and I think it's. I mean, I came up with you did the 15, then you did the pause, then you did 5 others, and then you wanted to go through and pick the 5 that really mattered to you after a bigger thing, and I picked 5 that really made sense for me that I'm going to try to stick with, and I'm going to let those guide, which companies I choose to accept offers from, which ones I even apply for, and which ones, when they turn me down, that I want to accept they're turning down, and I decide these guys are the guys who are going to teach me. These guys are going to be the best. I want to work with the best. I want to become one of the best. So I was this chapter, above all of them, kind of resonated with me the most, and I took the most away from it, or this pattern. So I liked it.
Yeah, but sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what the 5 were. I mean, if anybody wants to share what their 5 were.
Yeah, and I'd love to share. So my top one is, the reason I'm doing this is to take care of my wife. We're both older. We both have a disease, so our futures aren't necessarily going to be easy. But software development is a sustainable career. It works with me and my disease and my timeline and everything, and I think the need is going to be there. And even if it's not, once I get doing this, I mean, it will. Like there was one chapter where he said, picture 15 different possible job titles and stuff. I don't know what those are. I can't even imagine that. But if I keep working hard, and paying attention to the lessons, then it'll figure itself out. So taking care of my wife is the top motivation, and I think that software craftsmanship, web development, whatever, will have more than enough opportunities to do that. And the other one is I want to do it better than I did it myself. I want to continually improve on it, and there's so much dynamism and so much change and new things in tech that there's going to always be a room for me to improve myself. Another motivation is to make up for the time that I've wasted, throughout my life, by not being focused, and this gives me the opportunity to focus and really become good at something. And another one is the intellectual fulfillment. Coding is an intellectual challenge. It's not. I don't know if it's really hard or if it's really easy. I go back and forth with that, but it certainly keeps my mind occupied, and I like that about it because, man, when I turn my mind off, it's just I'm in an unhappy place. And web development and software, learning software, programming, it doesn't let my mind stay inactive. And again, I alluded to it earlier, but I want to surround myself with the best. So I am only going to work for a company that has the best, or people who will become the best, and I will become the best with them, and we will be the best team. That excites me a lot.
Yeah, but I have to kind of interrupt here.
Yeah.
Because this might be hard, and I think some of the patterns in the book address this, like because you might work in a company that it's not top notch. So how can you keep up with the industry? How can you aim for being a top notch developer? So there's lots of patterns to kind of address this, because if before you are getting your first job you want to work for the best, okay, what if it didn't happen? Are you going to give up on being a developer? Because what you are going through, I kind of went through, and I kind of decided, okay, I'll take this job, and then I'll try to work on my skills and improve over time. So it's kind of being practical or aiming for perfection. So
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I guess to clarify, I'm not necessarily looking to work for the best company. I mean, I'm not going to get in Facebook. I don't have a college degree. I'm not going to get in Google. I don't want to. Like I said, I want to be surrounded by the best or people who have the potential to become the best. I mean, there's a lot of startup activity in Miami right now, so if I see other people similar that hold similar ideals, like they're willing to work hard, they're willing to learn, they're willing to challenge themselves and those around them, and they're willing to share and help those around them grow, then I'll sign up with those guys. They don't have to be the best now, but if they have these traits and things like them, and if they're consistent about applying them, I believe they will be the best. And I mean, I guess best could be subjective too. If they're the best for me at this stage, then I consider them the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and yeah, definitely. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to make a decision, and it might not be the perfect one. You're right. You're right.
And I think that part of it is also, wanting to help your own career growth and those around you, not just necessarily, at least kind of the way that I look at it is, I'm working with good people who are trying hard, and I want to do my best to help us all kind of raise our level.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's how I would define the best. I mean, to me, it's a subjective term. The best that we can do right now at our stage. I mean, ultimately, it would be great if they were the best coders, but I'm probably not going to be on one of those teams. They probably won't let me on one of those teams, but who knows? Maybe they will. Might as well try.
You might make it the best team.
Yeah, I used to be in sales, among other things, and communication is something I'd like to think I'm decent at, and I think I can add some value with that, so we'll see where that takes me.
Cool.
Good luck, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Any other thoughts on this chapter? All right. Let's move on. Nature. Not nature. Okay. Nourish. Okay, guys, I need some help here.
Nurture.
Okay, your passion. Okay, so I think there's a quote: "The traveler whose main path of mastery." Okay, here's another one. Coincides.
Coincides.
Yeah.
Coincides.
You're on it, buddy.
With career and livelihood is fortunate. So basically, I think that's why most of us are fortunate that we do something we kind of like, because It depends, but yeah. Others must find space and time outside regular work hours for preferred practice that bring mastery but not a living wage. Um, so yeah. So the context, you have been hired as just a developer. Problem, you work in an environment that stifles your passion for the craft. So the solution would be take steps to protect and grow your passion for the software craftsmanship. Action would be like if that's kind of if that's the kind of the environment you work on, think of kind of positive things, like prepare a list of 3 positive ideas to talk about at work in case you got into an argument or a discussion that you feel it's kind of useless or boring, or yeah, that's what I got from that action. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this kind of resonates with any of you guys, and if any wanna kind of discuss a point in this chapter or pattern or not.
This one really resonated with me, and I think, it's not necessarily just having to do with software. It's not necessarily a developer problem. It's almost more of a team problem and a personal growth, or not problem, pattern. A personal growth pattern and team pattern that, if you're in a situation where you're with a group where everyone just kind of punches in and punches out, and as long as no one yells at them about something, they're just kind of happy to get by, it can be difficult to kind of nurture your own desires to excel and get ahead. And that's kind of what I saw this pattern addressing. Was that kind of nurturing that excitement in you to keep going, and maybe even kind of transform your workplace and your culture if you're successful. But even if not, then you're still going to be pushing yourself forward and maybe find yourself in a different situation in the future.
So do you think that by, if you're in this kind of environment that promotes mediocrity and discourages, pursuit of self-fulfillment, self-actualization, whatever, do you think that if you keep your positive mindset, if you keep like you said, maybe you can change the team you're on, but if you can't, and if you can keep it going for yourself, eventually you're just going to want to look for a different opportunity, right? Like, you don't want to stay in an environment like that, do you?
Probably. An opportunity might present itself. Maybe there's someone outside looking in and says, hey, I like what you're doing there. Maybe it's just that in time and through your efforts and working with other people, then someone else will say, hey, there's an opportunity over here I think you really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's easy, because that's kind of why it resonates with me, is that, sometimes it's hard to keep that going if you're in a situation like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is definitely hard. No argument about that. All right. Let's move on. So draw your own map. They think software development is only for fresh graduates, and when we get married and have kids, we cannot do that anymore. So that's I think that's an idea about software development. It's for kind of kids, the cool kids. All right. So the context: any given employer can offer only a limited subset of all possible career paths. Problem: none of the career paths that your employer provides fits for you. Solution: identify a logical but ambitious next step for your career. Understand that it's not up to anyone to give you a hand up. So that basically when kind of you already identified your road and what you are looking for, and I think this chapter kind of discusses if you got a promotion to do like a managerial level job or something, what's going to be your your react. How are you going to react about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to get the job and kind of give up on the long road, or what are you going to do about it? So, if the writer discusses if there is flexibility, you might have kind of discussed with your employer to get the title, but keep doing what you do as a developer. But basically, if that's not the case and your company is not flexible, you should consider kind of moving on. And there were kind of two stories in this chapter. One about a girl called Dizzy and another a guy called Chris. So basically, Dizzy was kind of doing system admin things, and then she got hooked with one of the programming languages. I think it's Perl. And when kind of she introduced the idea to her employer to kind of get more into coding and stuff, they kind of they resisted the idea and they didn't like it. So she kind of moved on to the next company, and then it's kind of the same thing. They didn't like the idea. They wanted a system admin, and she wanted more. So there was kind of some kind of a conflict between the company's map and her map, kind of thing. So she moved on as well until I think she got her. Yeah, fortunately, ThoughtWorks decided to take a chance on her. So I think it would be for us, whoever is starting, it would be good if there's a company if there's a company willing to take a chance on us. So, but yeah. Yeah, and another for Chris, I think it's kind of the same thing, but for Chris it was kind of like hardcore. Like they told him no more learning. He was kind of trying to learn from different people within the company, and they told him no more learning, do your job, and he told them, I'm out of here, kind of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't stay working for anyone who said stop learning stuff. I'd say, you fucking kidding, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. So yeah, they told him don't break the boundaries, stay within your group. I think you were kind of tester. So I wouldn't. He's saying I wouldn't be able to learn to code there, so I left. So yeah, and that's what Chris did. Do like Chris. All right. Action. So list 3 jobs that you think you could do following your current one. And that's not the action, actually. So from each 3, start branching out to other 3 jobs until you have a diagram of 27 jobs. So yeah, go for it. So I found that to be really annoying. Maybe that's the most annoying action of all
Yeah, I
actions.
thought that was ridiculous. I didn't even know where to begin with that one.
Exactly. Like I just started. Okay, let's say I am an apprenticeship, and I'm reading this book to get better at this craft. And you are telling me to start think about 27 other jobs I might be doing. I don't know. So it's like, okay, you need a plan B, C, D, E until you. So yeah.
Just can I ask a tangential question here? You know,
Sure. Go ahead.
how many of you guys have either owned your own company or worked as a freelancer?
I tried to open, let's say, a freelance company,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't work out. I suck pretty much on sales or marketing. I just can't do it. I can't kind of close the deal and reach out to potential customers and do this kind of things. And I think for any business owner, that's the number one skill he or she should have. So yeah, so I tried, but it didn't work out. So
Sorry to hear that.
No problem.
It's a
It's
good
all good.
experience. I'm sure you learned some lessons though.
Yeah, not to open a freelance shop anymore. Yeah, that's the lesson.
What about you, Clayton?
No, I've never owned my own company or gone freelance.
Cool. And I don't know the guy who's labeled as Code Newbie. I forget your name.
Jamal.
Jamal. Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty close to your age. I'm
Mhm.
41.
Mhm.
So back in the day,
Still the oldest.
back in the day, forever ago, when like internet was first coming out, I did do a few, like web pages as freelance. I don't know if that counts because they were like static sites for companies looking to get on the internet. That
Did
like
you
what's
get
this
paid?
internet thing? I did get paid.
That counts.
It wasn't much of a business because I did like 3 or 4 before moving on to something else.
Yeah.
But that's the extent of what I did.
What about you, Jason?
I mean, no, not really. Just do stuff for friends. I'm doing this website for $100 a month just to maintain it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's about it.
yeah. That's all I'm doing now. I before my path changed and led me to here, I was running a relatively successful boutique consulting company with my ex-wife, and then 2008 happened and everything changed. But I don't know. For me, I mean, kind of, and I have had success at sales. So for me, kind of knowing that if I'm at a position or a role or a job where, and I don't have kids, so that's nice too. So knowing that I can always walk away and just make some money on my own until I find something better. That's always kind of a nice freedom to have, I think. Just I don't know.
Yeah, this one
I
was
guess
a
I'm
little
feeling
frustrating.
and I'm
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no. I mean, maybe this is just no. Please, I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh no, no. Okay. Well, I was just saying this one's a bit frustrating. I always felt bad for not having like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and stuff like that. I was listening to one of the code newbies, and she's like, "I never had a 5-year plan. I don't know how the hell you're supposed to know what you want to do in 5 years." And but there is a practicality about it, about this action that I like, and that it's working from where you're at, so that's a little better. But I've definitely jumped. I did a lot of jobs. I was a real estate agent. I was a teacher. I was a med student. Well, I got pre-med. I got 2 med school, but and so yeah, this is like it feels nice though to know that I don't need to know what I want to do, and to finally rest in coding has been a real relief. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where I'd go from here, and so that used to be really stressful to me. But I think I'm getting comfortable with not knowing.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the skills and the confidence to operate, you don't need to have a plan, right? You can stay loose, like Bruce Lee says, be water, right? If you have a
Totally.
nice,
I liked it. It was mentioned in the chat about So Good They Can't Ignore You, and that was a great book. And I think it says the same thing in that, just be focused on being good first, and it's like a branch in your hand, and let that swing you to the next opportunity, and might not necessarily know what that is. And maybe this action's going to help you at least look out for the next thing. But yeah, I'm definitely a bit older now, and I realize that I'm not going to know what I'm going to be necessarily 5 years from now. But I'm open to it, so.
Yeah, but when you mentioned like this action will help you to figure out what's the next thing. For me, that's the next thing. What I'm doing now is the next thing. So it was kind of hard to think about the next thing. At least that's for me. But I'm interested to know if you guys have your own map or you never thought of it. So I'm kind of interested. Like if we start from left to right, Clayton, do you have your own map?
I definitely have a 3 to 5 year plan.
Okay. Do you mind sharing it with us?
I don't know that I want to go on record with it because I currently have an employer.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Jamal,
Well, I heard plans change, but it's important to still have a plan.
Right.
But if you don't want to share, it's fine.
I'll go. I don't have necessarily a plan per se, but kind of the way that my career path has gone, it kind of walks the line between technical and business side of things. So a lot of times I find myself in situations where I'm either playing kind of both roles or as an interface between larger groups. either technical teams and then like the project teams and whatnot. So it's really, I've been trying to develop both of those skills over the past year or so, and push both kind of forward in both areas to try to get to wherever that leads.
All right, Jason, Rupert, do you guys have maps you wanted to share, or?
I think Jason gets to go first. Jason, you're still on mute, bud.
All right. No, I was saying Kareem was in the middle. You should. You said from left to right. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I see myself on the right, but
yeah, I see him on the right too, buddy.
So yeah, it's you, man.
Okay,
it's okay if you don't have a plan.
No, I mean, like,
fine.
I resonate with what you're saying, Kareem, in that, like, you know, right now I'm trying to find this, like, this next thing is a lot to take on, and so I'm just learning to code right now. But I really am excited about the idea of the internet and how it's changed education and the system itself. You know, boot camps have their ups and downs, but I personally have you know, my own personal biases of what the right way to learn code is. It's a lot less crammy. It's a bit more zen. I like the idea of taking your time and actually being in awe of the material and, like, kind of taking it in bite-sized chunks. And so, I mean, for me, I'd love to be, you know, in the sphere of like Sandy Metz or like a, you know, Saran, and, like, you know, lead the community in, like, a healthy way of learning to do something that could eventually make you money, you know. And, you know, I like the idea of doing it at a certain pace that's organic and human, and building a community out of that. And I don't think these opportunities ever existed before. So, you know, that's about the extent of what I know I want to work towards. But right now, it's just get a job. So that's a little bit more actionable. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to get a job as a developer, a junior developer, and because I don't want to. I mean, I don't know. It's so crazy. There's so many startups, and they have so many weird title definitions, and just who knows. And I mean, due to my non-traditional past, I don't think I'm gonna, and my outlook, I'm not gonna go corporate. It would be stable, but I'm not hireable corporate, nor am I interested in it. So I don't know. There's just always opportunities in small business and in entrepreneurship. So, you know, I'm just going to keep working on my skills. Jason, when he brought it up, reminded me that, I mean, I have done speaking. I like speaking. I have done communicating. It's a dream of mine to run a podcast. So maybe one day in the future, I would be tech, but still more on the communications side. And I think that might be a reasonable 3 to 5 year goal for myself, because it would keep me motivated and excited, and it might allow me an opportunity to succeed. But I don't have a specific 3 to 5 year plan, because things change so quick, you know.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your plan?
Yeah, I was gonna. I don't really have a plan or a map, but I would say my very short-term plan for me is to be a better Rubyist. I'm almost done with Sandy Metz book. I think it's been mind-blowing for me. I also doing now a Udacity course called Beginning Ruby, although it's most of the things I kind of already know, but there is some stuff kind of like some little things that I didn't know that kind of filled the gaps a little bit. And the good thing is there's projects you do after each section, so it's kind of like getting your hands dirty and practicing a little bit, and you get some code reviews and stuff. So yeah, but that's basically it. Like being a better Rubyist. That's it.
Why Ruby?
Why Ruby? Like I used to do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for a very long time, like about 7 or 8 years, and I was making a good living. I would say a decent living, and but then I got bored. You know, all those JavaScript frameworks coming out, and there's lots of expectations as a front-end developer, and And my employer at the time wasn't kind of paying attention to what's going on in the world, like they do Magento, like the PHP e-commerce platform, and all they care about is you do the theme for this website for the client, and that's it. They don't care about improving your skills as a front-end developer, right? So and I was kind of fed up. So what I did is I quit my job to learn JavaScript properly. And it's funny. So I was kind of looking online for boot camps and stuff. Okay, what am I going to be doing? Am I gonna learn Angular, or is it Ember, or is it whatever it is, Backbone? Back then wasn't React a thing, like 2013, I think. So I found like quote unquote full stack web development bootcamp. So you will learn JavaScript, you will learn Ruby, and you will learn Rails. I said, wow, that's the perfect combination, right? So basically, there was no JavaScript or HTML or anything. It was just Rails and a little bit of Ruby. But that's how I got hooked. And now I don't know. I love Ruby. I don't know. It might be a cliche or whatever, but I really enjoy writing Ruby. And now when I look at like at work, we use Angular for the front end. So sometimes I have to work with it. And just when you look at the specs and you look at Protractor is the testing framework for Angular, it really hurt your eyes. And that's no joke. I don't have my work computer now, but if I copy paste some Protractor specs, it's gonna hurt your eyes. You can't read what this spec are doing. It's crazy. But anyways, so I'm not sure if that's answered your question. And you know, when you read kind of book and it clicks with you, or I don't know, you hear something and it clicks. For me, Ruby just clicked, you know.
I absolutely agree with you. I was,
So
yeah,
yeah.
that makes perfect sense to me. I agree. Yeah.
I totally love what you're saying. Can I ask you a question though? Because I don't really know much about JavaScript, and I was listening to Free Code Camp Quincy Larson's interview. He said he started with Ruby on Rails and then switched to Node. And he said, if you're climbing up the hill and you find out it's the wrong hill, get off the hill and get on the right one. And so he dropped everything and learned Node because he felt like that was the future. In terms of drawing your own map, do you think that was
Yeah, I heard that. I think I heard that. I heard that interview, and I would take his opinion with a grain of salt. I would say that's his opinion, and I respect it, and that's the way he saw it, and that's fine. But I mean, when you really compare JavaScript to Ruby, I would say there is no comparison. That's my opinion. But I mean, it's like try to write this program here and there, and that's it. You don't. I don't need to kind of say anything else. I'll say no more kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, because there's lots of people they love JavaScript and they really enjoy it, and I think that's why there's so many different languages, and also same thing goes for products and whatever, and that's the thing. You like this, you don't like this, or you can like both. And personally, I think JavaScript is really handy, and it's really important for us to know it if you decide to work with the web. But yeah, I think it's important. I don't think it's you shouldn't know JavaScript, but I mean, I think that's one of the patterns we were talking about last time. You just need to get to get at the deep end at your first language, know it very well, then kind of okay, let's know more languages and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not sure if my next language would be JavaScript today. Like to dig into JavaScript, I would rather to dig into Python or look into Elixir or any other language, but I wouldn't say JavaScript would be my next language.
So So I would say, this is coming from someone who does not like JavaScript. But I will say this: the JavaScript has one thing.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Or is it a statement? I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah. No, it's a statement. I will say this: while I don't like JavaScript, the one thing it has going for it is it is supported in every browser, which means it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's going to continue to eat the world on the web side of things.
Yeah.
Things that are either written in some form of JavaScript or something that renders into JavaScript are going to be that's going to be the way web seems to be going for the foreseeable future.
But
I
but
there are
I
always going to
heard.
be jobs in JavaScript.
Yeah, I heard. I think this might be like kind of long term, but they are developing. I think an engine for web browsers that translate any language into kind of a machine level kind of language that the browser understands. So it won't make JavaScript obsolete, but it will make room for other languages to work with the web browsers. That's what I heard or I read. I'm not sure when or where, but I'm sure somewhere. I'll try to look it up and maybe post the link somewhere. But you are right. So JavaScript is pretty important. No argument about that. Yeah. Right.
I hate it, and it's probably going to be my next language. Let's put it that way.
Which one?
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I hate it.
hated
JavaScript will probably.
JavaScript is.
Yeah. What do you think of jQuery?
I'm not sure there's like this takes us to another kind of side argument. There is now, for example, for Ruby, there is something called Opal, which kind of translates into JavaScript.
Yeah, they're building that for a
be
bunch of languages.
So, sorry, you are kind of breaking, Clayton.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the languages are building things that translate into JavaScript.
Yeah, and that won't be of interest to you.
I mean, sure. I'll probably mess around with it. And there's other languages like Elm that also do the same thing, and I'll mess around with them. But the fact is that's not where the bulk of the work is if you want to work in web. The bulk of the work right now, if you want to work in web, is you really got to at least be able to work with JavaScript and jQuery.
Yeah, but now jQuery, like I know jQuery, and jQuery from like I had a couple of interviews and stuff, and jQuery basically, if you know jQuery, you don't know JavaScript, so you are not good enough. That's what I got. Not like explicitly, but implicitly. Like okay, you know jQuery. Okay, that's good. That's good. Do you know Angular?
Yeah. Well, jQuery's kind of is not the popular new thing right now.
Yeah.
But it's still heavily used.
Yeah, no argument about that as well. So all right, I think we kind of knew about the maps and the lack of them as well. So let's move on. All right, use your title. This is a joke, it's not a quote. I'm promoting you from senior engineer to lead engineer. The pay is the same, but people will disrespect you less. So this is a joke. I'm not sure from that Dilbert's.
Yeah, it was Dilbert. Yeah, it was a cartoon Dilbert. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is. I found it to be funny. So I thought, why not put it? All right. So basically, the context: as a result of your dedication to learning, you have been promoted into a position with a fancy title. that's my wording, but basically they were saying lead architect, senior, whatever. So let's say fancy title. And the problem is your job title doesn't match what you see in the mirror. Like, yeah. So basically, you are just starting your career as a developer. You have been, okay, let's say working hard, reading a lot, try to seek out mentors or whatever. But the fact is, you are still an apprentice, right? But for any reason, you got promoted or you got a fancy title. Solution, the writer is suggesting is, do not allow your title to affect you. Don't be fooled by any impressive title. That's it. That's it. Basically, stay grounded and like know your limits or know your like yeah, kind of know yourself and know what you are capable of. And if you, I think if you stay grounded, that you will know that there is lots and lots to learn, and you won't kind of get fooled by that impressive title. So the action is to write down a long and descriptive version of your job title. That's it. Try, I don't know, for me it's a full stack web developer. I added junior to kind of avoid the recruiters and stuff, and so far it's working well. So like imagine I'm getting some recruiters sending me they are looking for a team lead. So what? I don't have few months of experience, and they are looking for a team lead. So just to filter those kind of I don't know, I would call them stupid, maybe, but just adding the junior inside the title, that will do the trick. And it's the fact. Although the company didn't insist on the junior in the title, I know that's who I am. So stay grounded. Yeah. So basically, write down one descriptive version of your job title. That's it. And keep updating it.
I had a little confusion in this one. So is this kind of like give yourself your own title and stick to that? Is that it?
It's just like be realistic about what you do and who you are.
Yeah, that's it. Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So and don't get fooled. Basically, if tomorrow at your work they promoted you, they gave you a fancy title, whatever, know who you are. So.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's. Any other thoughts or comments on this pattern? All right, I'll take this as a no. Move on. So, okay, stay in the trenches. We sometimes choose a course of action that brings only the illusion of accomplishment, the shadow of satisfaction. This is a quote of the chapter. So basically the context is, as a result of your dedication to learning, you have been promoted. Okay, it looks like I didn't, it just doesn't match. Okay, my bad. It looks like I didn't.
I can give the context on that one real quick. If you want me
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Let me pull it up real quick here.
Yeah.
All right, stay in the trenches. The context. As a result of your dedication to learning, you have established a reputation as someone who can effectively deliver software. Yeah. Within your organization, exceptional work is rewarded with promotions up the hierarchy. Problem. You have been offered a promotion into a role that will pull you away from programming. And then it talked about in the solution, the main things were basically just encourage you to stay in the trenches, do whatever you can to stay within a developing software. And but it warns it's very easy to apply this pattern in a selfish way, to be blind to the needs of others around you. However, as you become more experienced apprentice, you'll find yourself trying to change your working environment so that others can keep doing what they love.
Yeah, and I think maybe I confused this with another one, but I think this is where they mention if your company is kind of flexible, you can kind of negotiate with them. You have the fancy title, but you keep doing what you love to do or you like to do, like
Right.
keep coding and stuff. I think yeah, I confused this with another one, and I said the same thing on the other one, but yeah. So basically, yeah, that's it. And uh, the action, how does your employer reward excellence? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So if their current reward aren't appealing, start thinking of other ways they could reward you. And you can tell them, okay, I don't want the raise, I want something else, or I don't know who would have said that, but maybe I don't know.
Yeah, and then if they do try to promote you, you can negotiate from a position of knowing what you want
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
instead when you turn down the promotion,
exactly.
because you have a set of goals that you would like to achieve.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
so
a little contrarian on this one
sure.
Okay.
and say that while there are benefits to staying in the trenches, that is not everything. And I would say I'm going to back that up by saying that there are very important skills for even the programmers in the trenches to have and to practice, such as communication, interaction, team building, and all those soft skills that you can learn by being promoted out into a more or less programming role that may help you in the long run. So while I understand what they're saying, stay in the trenches, stick with it, don't get drawn away from it if that's not what you want to do. I wouldn't say it's a hard and fast rule. It's more of a heuristic or pattern or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I will say this too. In the company I work for, we have of course, the developer group, and we work. We have a whole bunch of people in the company who are not in development. Um, the vast majority of the employees of the company are not developers. They're people doing other kinds of work, and we're building the tools that they use. And there's a department of people who are kind of like the liaisons between us and them.
Mm.
And having those people be familiar with how coding works is incredibly useful.
Yes.
And so it's not the end of the world to become, one of those people if it means that you're making life so much better in both directions. If you're good at the communicating side and you understand the structure of the code base and how to interact with it and the problems that the developers solve and the kinds of things they need to know to be able to solve those problems.
Yeah, you can really set a team of developers up to succeed if you're able to steer, certain discussions or meetings around to a meaningful conversation rather than just kind of everyone sits around and speaks their own language and no one really understands each other.
Or even knowing, like, for example, that, like, how to structure, like, behavior in a way that is not maybe this and maybe that, but, like, here's the things we explicitly need the logic to do, and that kind of stuff. Super useful to have somebody who understands that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Any other thoughts on this one, guys? All right. It's a different road. Just because they are not on your road doesn't mean they have gotten lost. Context. You have been drawn. You have used. Draw your own map. Okay. The pattern. You have used draw your own map as the pattern and follow it diligently. Is that correct? Diligently?
Yes, diligently. Yes.
Diligently.
You're doing great.
Yeah, thanks. I feel I'm in English class, and yeah, thanks. Okay, the problem, the map you have drawn leads away from the long road. solution, follow your own map, and remember that you learn what you learned during your apprenticeship. So basically, this chapter is talking about if at some point you kind of uh, start doing something else, or you started to get interested in something else. And one of the stories in that chapter was talking about some like kick-ass developer. He started to be interested in surfing, and he lived in a Greek island for 6 months teaching surfing. uh, yeah, so basically, yeah, follow your kind of passion kind of thing, and don't forget whatever you learned while you were an apprentice. Action. If for some reason you could no longer be a software developer, what would you do? So that's the action. So start writing down, uh, yeah, other things you might like to do, like being a CEO or I don't know, astronaut or something. So or a surfer. So
Oh, I want to go back to one of my answers before about you said 3 to 5 year plan. I have gotten into software development, and my priority, I've gotten into software development because I'm going to write the next big app, and within 3 years I'm going to be a billionaire, and I can do whatever the hell I want. So that solves three patterns all at once.
good.
Good luck with that.
Have no interest in that, but it's thought it sounded funny.
Yeah. Don't forget your book club mates when you become a billionaire.
Like I said, I have no interest in that. I've owned a company before, and I don't want to do that again.
So,
I think one thing that's interesting is think about the authors. I was listening to this that pragmatic learning book. He talked about looking at people in terms of prejudice almost, and you could like group people into like certain groups. So there's baby boomers, for example, Gen X, and certain characteristics of each one that you can kind of conclude. I feel like this chapter is easy for us because of we're Gen X, and to like take a company and use it for our own benefit is very easy.
That's a good
But
point.
then, like, I think the author of the book, these are revolutionary ideas. It's like to be disloyal to your company, I think was something a bit harder for them. But for us, it's just like, well, this is going to serve me, so they can kiss my ass, like. But I think the theme is to basically live for yourself and to use, things for the best you can, and learn to be a better coder through it, So.
Nice. That's a great book, but I read it a while back, but I really enjoyed that book. The Pragmatic Thinking and Learning.
Yeah, I've got the one.
Totally, I think they go hand in hand really well, actually.
I've always said, as long as you pay attention to what you're doing and learn the lessons from what's presented to you, then you can, whatever comes next, you can take that with you, So I think, like Jason is saying, I mean, if it's not working out for us, we'll just get to hell with it. I'll take my skills somewhere else,
In the context of kind of do a career switch, or in the context of you will find another job with your whatever skills you have gained, in what context?
I mean, in whatever context it needs to be. I mean, just in anything. I mean, I think as long as I think a lot of lessons from different circumstances and roles can be applied to other things. Just not necessarily directly applied, but if you pay attention, life teaches you a lot of things, I think.
Yeah. No argument about that.
Yep. Was this the follow your passion pattern? I forget which one was the follow your passion pattern.
It's I think it wasn't in this chapter. Let me check the
Yeah, it was early on. The one where they talked about Steve Jobs' address.
That's right.
Yeah.
Isn't there some controversy as to whether Steve actually walked the talk?
Yeah, that was what came up in the. I pushed back against that a little bit in the chat.
Yeah.
All right, let's I think wrap this up. So basically, in this wrapping up, the writer were kind of giving different kind of scenarios, but basically what we can take out of this chapter is the possibilities for combining these patterns are limitless as the contexts that apprentices live within. So yeah, so basically it's based on your context or your position or situation. You kind of use combined patterns to kind of make your life better, I think, or yeah, not your life and your career. Enjoy what you do, that kind of thing. Yeah, and at the end they kind of have this map of the different patterns and how they are kind of connected to each other and what are the possibilities. So go figure. So yeah, so that's pretty much it.
All right, man. Thanks for all your help on this, Kareem. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, problem. It's
We had homework, didn't we?
we had homework. Yes.
What was the homework? I wasn't here last week.
Yeah, it's basically, if I remember correctly, list five of your the things that you kind of I'm not sure what's the word, ignorance.
You were
So your
supposed to list
ignorance list.
5 things about your work that you didn't understand.
Oh, okay. That was the task. Okay. I thought it's like in general, like 5 things I wanted to know better, but I think the context goes there as well. It's the same thing.
Yep.
But okay, let's start with you, Clayton.
Oh, all right.
You mentioned it.
So my first thing, and the one that I actually read about, and because we were supposed to list 5 things and then solve one of them, the one that I actually took time to read up on was, my question was, how does the REAT algorithm work, and why is the company I work for using it? And the REAT algorithm, it turns out, is this. It's an algorithm that rules engines use for optimizing the speed of the engine, and it's just a way of arranging the structure of the engine so that it's a way of optimizing how the speed of the engine works, which I did not know that at all. I had no idea why he used it. So I have that now, and I found a really good blog post, and I'll post the link to it. The part 2 of it talks about what the REAT algorithm, like how it works. And for those who don't know what a rules engine is, it's kind of like a state machine. You pass in a number of objects, and those objects go through a list of rules, and they get passed into those rules, and those rules do something to those objects and then spit them out the other end. And once none of the rules match up with the objects anymore, then the objects get like passed out the far side. And my company uses that for a lot of stuff, and so I wasn't sure why. So that was my first one, and I looked up on that. I posted that link, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second one was, what is the difference between a rules engine and a state machine, which I haven't gotten into yet. The third one was, how do you write a Ruby script that runs a PHP command in a shell? Because I really, really need that to happen. It would make my life a lot easier if I could figure out how to do that. So that's one of the things I'm going to try to sit down and figure out before the end of the week, is how to write a Ruby script that runs that will spit a PHP code out into the shell and run it. And what I want you to do is be able to, when you run the Ruby code, to take, I haven't decided if it's going to take like argv arguments, or if you, when you run the Ruby script, you pass it arguments from the command line, like when you run it. Or one of those two, you're gonna pass it arguments, and then it's gonna feed those arguments into a PHP script and run the PHP script in the shell, in the in the shell, in the terminal for you. Because I have this application that I keep having to run all these PHP scripts, and I have to like manually type out the whole PHP script because it changes every time. I have to put new arguments in it, and it's a big mess. So I got to figure that out. And then how does the Ruby DSL use procs and clones to capture facts? The Ruby DSL is the rules engine that we use at work, and it does something weird with procs and cloning objects. And I need to sit down and play with it and figure out why it does that and how that's working. And then finally, how does the C-tree database work? Which is something I'm sure that almost none of you have ever heard of, because it's an old database system that nobody uses anymore. But we still have it at work, and I don't understand it. Hopefully I won't need to ever learn it because we're trying to phase it out, but it's like 20 years old. We can't write migrations for it anymore because it's so old. Yeah.
Wow. Man.
We're trying to get everything over onto like Postgres. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff on this database system called C-tree, and it's a mess.
Yeah. It's not possible to convert those PHP scripts into Ruby scripts, and okay, so part of my job, one of the things I'm doing for my work is taking PHP apps, like PHP GTK apps, and converting them into Ruby apps. Okay.
And so to do that, to make my job easier, I need to be able to run those PHP apps and actually see what they're doing before I try to start rebuilding them in Ruby.
Yeah.
And it's a pain in the ass to run those PHP apps from the command line. And I need to write a script that automates that and makes it faster. I either need to learn how to do it in just bash scripts or figure out how to write the PHP script in Ruby. I don't think it'll be too hard in Ruby. I should just sit down and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. That's lots of stuff, man. And
well, it's all work-specific stuff. It's all like, I'm sorry that it's not stuff you guys can relate to, but it's all the stuff I'm dealing with day to day.
It doesn't matter if it relates to us or not, but this is your job, and you need to know about those stuff. But good stuff, man.
Oh, somebody just links to something.
Yeah, that reminds me. You were at RubyConf, and I'm pretty sure you're at the talk about really bad code or doing. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Worst ideas ever.
Yeah, but
that was a sequel to this talk, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a sequel to this talk, and then this one it's Aaron Patterson and Ryan.
Is it Ryan Drake?
Spider, yeah. And they make PHP. They hook it up to Ruby, so that made me think of it because you were talking about that. So, but they actually like hook up the runtime so that they like make WordPress run from Rails.
I saw somebody who monkey patched Ruby. They were trying to monkey patch Ruby to run JavaScript, I think. So like you could run JavaScript code, and it would through this Ruby, and it would spit it out it would spit like what you expected out the other end. And it was just a joke, like terrible thing to do, but they were seeing how far they could get with it in a short period of time. I think it was JavaScript. It was something. I'm pretty sure it was JavaScript.
But yeah, if you have a little bit of time and you haven't seen that talk, it's good. It's funny.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a go. Anything with Aaron Patterson makes me happy.
Jamal, what was on your list? Did you consider it a list?
I did. I didn't write it up as a. I didn't necessarily take it from the perspective of work, which it sounds like Clayton did.
Yeah.
but just more about, coding knowledge and things that I feel like I should know how to do, but I don't. And the things that were on my list were handling Unicode. Like, I get the idea of what Unicode is, but if I'm presented with Unicode, I still kind of sit there scratching my head thinking, oh no, I have to deal with Unicode. And that's really something that I shouldn't. I mean, we should really know how to handle Unicode, or at least I feel that I should know how to handle Unicode, and not see it and go, oh no, this is going to be a problem. So
Be glad
that,
that you're not. Be glad you're not running on an old version of Ruby.
right.
Pre
Well,
1.9 Ruby was Unicode.
I ran into it on Python because 2.7 doesn't do Unicode by default. You have to do special stuff, and 3 handles Unicode, and I couldn't get it working in either. The exorcism that I was doing had a Unicode problem. I couldn't get it working on either one. Eventually, after a long time, I got it working in 3, but it uncovered the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing with Unicode. So I put that first on my list. Next one I had was navigation in Vim. So I'm using Vim. I'm using Vim now for coming up on like 8-9 months. But I'm not even using HJKL. I'm not using the like skip forward and back 10 lines or page up, page down. I'm using arrow keys. So that's something.
If you haven't been using Vim, why are you using Vim now?
What's that?
If you haven't been using Vim, why are you deciding to use it in the past 7 or 8 months?
I wanted to give it a shot, and once I did, I enjoyed it. I'm just not as proficient in it as I could be.
You need to go into your vimRC and map those arrow keys to just not do anything, and it'll break you of using them.
That's a good idea.
That's hardcore, man.
It will break you in like a day. You will stop those arrow keys.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a note of that.
Go in your vimRC. You can map any key you want in that vimRC.
Gonna force yourself to learn the hard way.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, definitely a good way to confront my ignorance there. So the next one I had was just generally documentation for Python. I really don't know how that works. I know that so with Java you've got JavaDoc, with Ruby you've got
RubyDoc.
Yeah. Python, I know there's something. I don't have any idea what it is or how to use it. So I need to learn about that and learn how that is not only used, but how it's generated.
You do know about RI in Ruby, don't you?
I've seen that when I install a gem, that RI does something and RDoc does something.
RI works not just on gems, it works on any Ruby stuff. So if you hit RI in the name of some method, it'll give you the documentation for it.
Okay.
And if you hit RI and if you do RI capital string hashtag and the name of some method like PR, it'll give you the documentation for that instance variable of that on strings. You can tell it, give me the documentation for this particular version of that method. And if you use a dot, it'll give you the class method. So string dot some method is the class method documentation, and string hashtag whatever. It's exactly, if you go to RubyDoc and look on the menus on the left when you go to string or whatever, the documentation on ruby/doc.org, it's exactly the same style with the hashtag or the dot. But if you use RI and then type in something, it'll give you Ruby's documentation for it. And that works for your gems as well. So if your gems have RDoc integration, that's a good way to access it from your command line.
Look at that. String hashtag match, and there's match. Yeah, that's pretty nifty. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like man pages for Ruby.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Knowledge of Python modules. So I know the ones that I've worked with, but I'm not very knowledgeable of just the common basic modules, much less anything beyond your commonly used third-party modules. So I want to expand that knowledge. And then finally, idiomatic Python. I think this is something I mentioned briefly before, but Python, unlike Ruby, is very well. Ruby, you can have many ways to do something. In Python, there's really one way to do something. You can do it in other ways, but it's not considered the right way to do it, and that's for reasons of clarity, I guess, among other things. And it's just the approach that language takes. So I am looking to improve my knowledge there, and this is what I'm going to be leveraging to do that. So hopefully,
is that
taken care of soon.
compatible with the current version of Python? Or is
Yes,
that old?
yeah, it is. It focuses on Python 3.
Nice. Because I know that's a big deal in Python.
It is, but they're now, I think 2018 is the end of life for Python 2.
Wow. Okay. I
So
bet there's a lot of people crying about that.
There are some modules that don't support both, but the support is getting a lot better from what I've seen for Python 3. So those were the things that I had. I kind of wrote it up in a blog post. I can put that up.
Yeah. Jason, what about you?
I might be a little loud here. I'll try my best to speak into the mic. I just did one. It was Bundler. I'm working on other things, but that's the main one I was trying to work on this week.
Yeah.
And someone put a good video up, and I posted in the Slack. It's pretty cool. Like I feel like I get it a lot more because he maps back to the problem it solves, and it's kind of cool because he presents Ruby code that does exactly what he's talking about, and it's more iterative. And so, like for example, the first one was repetition. Like when you run that has to do with gems, I think, and like when you do require, he talks about what that method actually does, and the problem when it's when you're copying the same code throughout the whole database and all the issues you get. And then he built on to runtime, and then you have issues where you're running Rails more than once on your machine, and so your computer's having difficulty defining methods and finding out where to find it. And then he builds towards the idea of sharing code, and so now you have these gems where you can actually code a class and then put it on the internet, but then everybody's copying and pasting, but you don't know which version you've used because people are updating things. And so Bundler solves all these problems, and he really shows how complex it is. Where because of all one of the things it does is it looks at your gem file and creates a gem lock. But that was actually there's like I forgot what type of algorithm it was, but there's a map to see which ones are compatible with which gems are compatible with which other gems, including their versions. And before, people would just have to go through their gems and like get errors and then delete whatever line it was.
Okay.
But then Bundler actually, he said there's like millions of, for certain configurations, there could be millions of ways they'd have to test to get something that works. And so he's like, and so basically what they do is they find which ones work, and then sometimes it takes 10 minutes to like figure out a gem configuration that would actually not conflict with itself. And so a lot of his job is to minimize the search in these like long computational algorithm, configurations where they're trying to figure out which one works. And he said it's a hard problem in that you wouldn't know if there's no solution.
Right.
And he showed some maps and stuff that were just like ridiculous, like these lines just everywhere. This is like, how the hell were they supposed to do this before Bundler? Like by hand. It's like there's no way. So I feel like I still have to watch the video again and take notes because but it was really good in that, like, yeah, I feel like I get it a bit better. I didn't get it at all, so so I'm harder.
Before Bundler was a thing, it's my understanding that like it was really like if you were going to have an app of any size, people tended not to want to use a lot of gems because you were almost always going to run into those kinds of inconsistencies over time. And bundler has gone a long way towards solving that problem. I mean, Rails, even just base Rails itself has a ton of gems just come built into it.
Yeah. Robert, do you have anything you'd like to share about?
I just kind of came up with this now because I skipped class last week.
Yeah, sure.
One of the things I want to get better at, I was exposed to it when I was playing around with Python before I started with Ruby. I'm worse at Python than Ruby, so don't quote me on that. But I keep running across regex, so I want to play around more with regex,
Oh,
regular
man.
expressions, and get better at that.
They will change your
What's-
life.
oh,
if you
man.
get good at them.
It's a good thing, right? It's something that we're studying,
But
right?
they're great. I use
Yeah.
them every day at work.
Yeah. I keep getting drawn to those. Seem like the easiest. If I could learn regex, I could solve a lot of problems a lot quicker. You know.
Are you using them in Ruby or in Python or both?
I mean, right now I'm exclusive. Ruby's my language. I picked my language and it's Ruby. So right now I'm going to be using them in Ruby in all my Ruby projects.
It's the first thing everyone knows about, but I'm going to make sure you know about it anyway. You do know about Rubular, right?
Yeah. Yes. Of course. Yes. That
Okay.
came across. Hartle mentioned that in his Rails tutorial. Yeah. Thank you.
That is a lifesaver.
Yeah, I was playing around one on Rubular earlier today. Yeah.
What was it?
Rubular.
It's a website where you can try out your regular expressions.
Yeah.
You can give it a string, and it'll tell you what parts of the string it matches and how many, and the order they'll match in and everything. It's a really great website. It's called It's Rubular.com.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I use it if I'm writing a regular expression. It gets used almost every time if it's even at all complicated.
Nice.
Have you heard of
Yes.
regex golf? Regex golf?
Oh.
Regex golf? It's
Is
just
it
a way to
golf?
apply. Yeah. They basically just put a bunch of crappy words on the screen, and then they tell you which ones to grab with the regex.
Oh, yeah, like the pizza thing for jQuery. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something to apply some of the knowledge you have, just to see if you can grab all the ones on the left and not all the ones on the right.
Cool, man. Yeah, definitely. I'll put it on the list.
Oops.
Something else I want to get better at is APIs. So I'm going to be spending some time working with API problems and going back through the bootcamp little cram session on APIs, like the afternoon they gave us on APIs, and I'm going to be spending more time with that and refreshing that. Just I feel like I'm weak with it, and it's something I could use some. It seems like there's a lot of use for it. I got this hackathon coming up at the end of the month, this global hackathon, and we're going to be working on a productivity app. So I'm going to spend some time. A problem I want to learn more about is what productivity apps exist and what problems they still haven't solved, to see if I can help us find something that isn't redundant. I could always use more practice in JavaScript because JavaScript gets you paid, so I want to spend some time there. Nothing specific. I'm new enough that I still have a lot to learn. So other than regex, I don't have any really specific things in the productivity thing, which isn't directly related. And kind of on the back of my mind is, should I be spending time learning AWS?
Learning what?
Amazon Web Services?
Not really.
No, you don't think so?
Because the thing is, I'll give you an example. Like when I started at my company, they were using DigitalOcean, right?
Yeah.
And then now they are moving to AWS. Other company might be using Heroku or some other services like Heroku. So basically, you will never know the infrastructure of your company running on what, or on the infrastructure of your future company running on what. So basically, like learning AWS or getting familiar with it, how to deploy apps on AWS. It's okay. What if your future employer doing their stuff on Heroku? Now what? So yes, you have this skill, and now you have the DevOps position. Like decent companies, they they have the DevOps who takes care of this kind of things. As a developer, you only write code. This is what you get paid to do. So
Yeah, that's more of a DevOps thing, right?
I,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
I
so
think it's a good
I
exercise.
wouldn't waste time there. But yeah, go ahead, Jamal.
I was just going to say, I think it's a good exercise to deploy somewhere, wherever that might be.
Yeah, I've done
Um,
Heroku, and I'm looking at DigitalOcean. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, but unless you're targeting like a full stack developer, then maybe, like Kareem said, you probably aren't gonna want to go learn each one.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So no, nope. Those are the ones I came up with right now. So thanks.
Yeah, I only had 3 things on my list, and I didn't really research any of them. But the things that on my list, the first thing is background jobs on Rails, because this is, yeah, we kind of need this at work because sometimes when you upload big files on the app, like the other day I was testing, I uploaded a file, CSV file with about 1 million records. So locally, it took 5-6 minutes to get uploaded and get all the records into the database. Like when I tried it on the staging server, it took about 25 minutes, and it didn't even finish. I kind of got bored, so I canceled the thing. So we might need to kind of upload big files on a background job, so it doesn't keep the server busy. So that one thing I need to look into. The other thing is kind of like, I think, basics, Ruby basics, like the difference between a Lambda and a proc, and what are the context of using each of them. Like it's kind of funny. Like I've been now coding for like full time for 4 months, and I never had to use any of them. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Uh, One other
You can get a
thing,
long way without a Lambda or a proc.
sorry.
You can get a long way without using Lambdas and procs.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm kind of interested. I know that Rails use lambdas when you create scopes and stuff. I think that's kind of it. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to know in what context I would use this or that. There was a talk like the Ruby the bad parts, where the guy was saying, I'm not sure which one of them, but one of them needs to get out of the language for some reasons he kind of was talking about. I'm not sure. And the last thing for me would be like how to use to pass a block as an argument to a method. I did it before, but I forgot how. But like yielding some stuff in a method, it gives you great flexibility if you kind of have similar stuff working on, and it kind of eliminates redundancy and stuff. It's really great way to do things. So basically, just to give you an idea, think of it when you have your in Rails. Like I'm sorry, that's the only context I know. But when you have your application layout that holds any other layout within it, so basically you have your yield argument or your yield statement, and basically this yield statement takes any other layout within the application layout.
Right.
So, but yeah, same concept, you can use it within methods. So it's mind blowing, but yeah.
Any method that you define with an optional and block argument, we'll take those.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, it's yeah. For me, it would be nice to like do an example or whatever. But I did it like a few months back, but I really forgot. And I think, yeah, I wanted to kind of refresh my memory about this. I think it's worth it. It might make my life easier. Might, but yeah. Uh, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. So yeah, we spent 2 good hours discussing code and patterns and stuff. It's
And we weren't even getting paid.
yeah. Do you guys have any last thoughts or anything you want to share before we call it good night? Or,
Who's doing the slides next week, Tuesday?
it would be Jamal or Jason or you. So I'm done with slides. So.
Yeah. If you guys, I know I dropped the ball last Tuesday and Mary Catherine picked it up for me, but if you guys trust me to do it again, I'd like to do it next Tuesday.
I trust you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks for stepping up.
Yeah, man.
Good. All right. Then next Tuesday, Robert's gonna take care of the slides. Thanks God. Yeah. Because it's you won't enjoy it. I tell you that.
I'm just looking
You guys have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.
Definitely.
All right, guys.
All right. Good night, guys. See you around.
Good night.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye. Thanks to you. Bye.